Are your photos never as sharp as you would want them to be? Getting sharp photos is a challenge. Why is it really that with the same camera and the same lens, in some situations you get sharp photos while in others you don't? Today I'm giving you a recipe to get tack sharp photos with any camera. The thing is that this really applies to all genres of photography. Even though your focus is perfect, you can still get images that are not as sharp as you would actually expect. Focus and sharpness is not the same thing. You can absolutely nail the focus, but the image can still lack clarity and crispness and in general just look soft. If you only focus on nailing the focus, you're missing half of the battle. You see, focusing is about aligning the depth of field you have with your subject, but sharpness is about the overall quality that you have in the image, and this is affected by so many other factors. So what are these hidden factors that are stealing your sharpness? That's what we'll unpack today. Sharpness is all about micro contrast, but not all light gives the same amount of micro contrast in your images. Directional light is very good at creating this kind of micro contrast where you can actually see the light coming from one direction. But we don't have any of this today. So my images today won't be the sharpest, and I know that, but there's more to an image than just sharpness. But if you want to get that crisp details, then you want to go out during like golden hour when the sun is slow and not too harsh, and have this like very clear direction. So the reason why you want directional light is that it creates these like beautiful bright areas and also dark areas, and even on a smaller scale, which actually is what we perceive as sharpness. Now, you wouldn't normally perceive light as being a sharpness issue or factor, at least I didn't for a very long time, but it can significantly impact your photos. It shouldn't stop you from going out, because you can still get beautiful photos. It's maybe just not sharpness, but it's probably more mood or atmosphere that is the defining characteristic of the image you'll get if you shoot in dull lighting, like today. But even with great lighting, if you use your lens the wrong way, you can still end up with soft images. Now, your lens has a sweet spot, a spot that's sharper than other apertures, but it's actually not the widest aperture in most cases that you would expect. However, you also don't want to step down the lens too much, as this will cause diffraction. Finding the sweet spot of your lens is key to getting sharp photos, but actually it's quite easy for most lenses. You can look it up online, and if you can't seem to find like a good source, you can always place your camera and lens on a tripod and aim for something that's not moving, and then simply take a test. Now, a slow shutter speed is of course also the enemy of getting sharp images. Camera shake and subject movement are the obvious reasons, and even with stabilization safe shutter speeds, bad handheld technique can make you miss the focus, so take care of this. The often stated rule of handheld photography, 1 divided by the focal length, might be a lot slower than what you actually need. So just make sure that with a moving subject you match the shutter speed with the subject, so you don't get tricked by the fancy image stabilization promises. Getting your subject in focus is absolutely critical. Without that, we can't even talk about sharp photos. But are you using the right autofocus mode? Choosing the wrong one can mean a lot of blurry photos. In single shot AF, the camera locks the focus. It doesn't release it until you release the trigger button and acquire focus again. This means that if the subject is moving just a tiny bit, you'll miss the shot. This means that you should only use one shot autofocus or single shot autofocus if your subject is not moving. Otherwise, switch to continuous autofocus. Or better yet, if you use back button focus, which I have a video on just up here, then you can stay in continuous mode, but still have the benefits of one shot or single shot autofocus. So just make sure you're using the right autofocus mode, as they're designed for a purpose. Noise is also the hidden enemy of sharp photos. It reduces color, contrast, and detail. It also reduces the micro contrast that I mentioned earlier. When you have noise in your image, it's likely because you're using a high ISO, and you do that because you don't have enough light in the image. And this means that there's also probably not any directional light to create that micro contrast. So in essence, noise interferes with the clarity of the image. So noise is definitely a sharpness killer as well. At least there's one thing we won't run into today, and that's heat haze. It's like heat rising from a surface, and this creates this shimmering effect, or this, hazy effect, I guess. The longer the range there is to a subject, the more chance of heat haze coming in between you and the subject. So you can solve it by moving closer or shooting earlier in the morning or later in the evening when it's not so hot outside. I mentioned earlier that you can get sharper images by just holding the camera the right way. Learn to pan smoothly with your body for moving subjects and gently press the shutter to reduce blur. In fact, I got a whole video about handheld photography, and you'll find it up here. So, see you over there.